You know more English words than you speak. A lot more. Right now, sitting somewhere in your memory, there are hundreds, maybe thousands of words you've encountered, recognized, understood. Words from films, from songs, from articles, from classes you took. Words you could identify in a sentence if someone else used them. And yet, when you open your mouth, out comes the same 50, 100 words, the same phrases, the same constructions you've been using for years, the same vocabulary you were comfortable with at B1 and that you're still comfortable with now. This is one of the clearest signs that a learner has plateaued. Not because they've stopped learning words, but because the words they're learning are staying passive, living in the recognition zone, but never making it into production. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why this happens, why your brain defaults to safe vocabulary under pressure, and the specific method that moves words from passive to active. The same method I still use today after 20 years of teaching English professionally. So, let's get into it. Here's what's happening in your brain when you speak English under any kind of pressure. Your brain is running two simultaneous processes. It's managing the content of what you want to say, the idea, the argument, the story, and it's managing the form, the words, the grammar, the pronunciation. That's a significant cognitive load. And when cognitive load gets high, the brain does what it always does under pressure. It defaults to what's safe, what's easier, what's automatic, what requires the least effort. In vocabulary terms, that means your comfort words. Your comfort vocabulary is the set of words and phrases you've used so many times that they require almost no conscious effort to produce. Words like good, interesting, I think, a lot of, really, basically. Words that come automatically, without you having to reach for them. And here's the trap, because these words work. People understand you, conversations move forward, and you communicate. And because it works, your brain has no incentive to reach for something harder. I mean, why use compelling when interesting does the job? Why use substantial when a lot of gets the point across? The comfort vocabulary trap is not laziness, it's actually efficiency. Your brain is optimizing for the lowest effort path to successful communication. That optimization is the exact thing that keeps your vocabulary range frozen. Now, here's the second part of the problem, and this one is the deeper issue. Even if you study new words, even if you learn 50 new vocabulary items this week, there is no guarantee any of them will show up in your speech. Because studying a word and owning a word are completely different things. Moving vocabulary from passive to active requires one thing above all else: forced production in real conversational contexts. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what the B2 Edge app's AI speaking coach is built for, putting you in scenarios where you have to reach beyond your comfort words, with feedback on what you produce as well. So if you are interested in learning more about the app, link in the description. But now, let's continue with this conversation about passive versus active vocabulary. There are two kinds of vocabulary in our brain. Passive vocabulary. These are words you can recognize and understand when you encounter them. You hear meticulous in a podcast and you know what it means. You read relentless in an article and you follow the sentence perfectly. Now, active vocabulary are words you can produce spontaneously under pressure in real time. Words that are available to you in a conversation, not just in a reading exercise. For most intermediate learners, the passive vocabulary is significantly larger than the active vocabulary. And the gap between the two is exactly where the 50-word problem lives. Here's why this gap exists. Recognition requires one cognitive pathway. Your brain encounters the word in context, matches it to a stored meaning, and moves on. That pathway gets exercised every time you read or listen. Production requires a completely different pathway. Your brain has to retrieve the word from storage with no prompt, no context, no visual cue, and deploy it correctly in grammar, pronunciation, and register, under time pressure, in front of another person. These are not the same skill. And studying vocabulary passively, like reading lists, watching videos, doing recognition exercises, that trains the first pathway almost exclusively. It does almost nothing for the second. If you've only ever studied vocabulary in the light, reading it, hearing it, recognizing it, you will always struggle to grab it in the dark of a real conversation. Now, I want to tell you what actually moves words from passive to active, because this is something I still actively work on today, not as a beginner, but as a professional English teacher and content creator with 20 years of experience. Here is something I want to be honest with you about. Moving words from passive to active vocabulary is not something you do once and you finish. It is an ongoing process. It never ends. It never stops. And even now, after 20 years of teaching, after thousands of hours of speaking, after making hundreds of videos, I still have to push myself to use different language from time to time. I still catch myself reaching for the comfortable word when a more precise one exists. I still notice moments where I defaulted to interesting when I meant thought-provoking, or important when I meant consequential. The difference between me and a learner who is stuck at 50 or 100 words is not that I don't face the comfort vocabulary trap. It's that I have a vehicle that forces me out of it. For me, that vehicle is YouTube. Every time I sit down to write a script, every time I record a video, I am forced to produce language, real language, precise language, language that communicates an idea clearly enough that a stranger on the internet can follow it, learn from it, and apply it. That constraint, having to communicate precisely for an audience, forces me to reach past my comfort words, because interesting in a script sounds weak, because a lot of in an explanation is imprecise, because the production context demands better, and better requires reaching into the passive vocabulary and pulling words into active use. Now, I'm not saying you need to start a YouTube channel, but I am saying you need a vehicle. A vehicle is any activity you do regularly that requires you to produce English, not just consume it. Something with enough frequency and enough output pressure that your brain is regularly forced past its comfort zone. Here are the vehicles that work. Here are some examples. Journaling in English daily, that's a good idea. Not summarizing your day, but arguing a position, describing something precisely, exploring an idea. Blogging, writing short articles, short stories, even privately, just for yourself. You can also try recording voice memos or video diaries in English, explaining something you learned, a film you watched, an opinion you gave. Giving regular presentations to yourself, to a study group, to anyone who will listen. Using an AI speaking coach in real conversational scenarios with the deliberate intention of reaching for new words, not defaulting to comfortable ones. The vehicle itself matters less than two things: frequency and output pressure. It has to happen often, ideally daily, and it has to require you to produce language, not just receive it. And here's the practice that makes the vehicle work. Before you produce, whether it's journaling, speaking, presenting, identify one word or phrase from your passive vocabulary that you want to move into active use. Just one. Write it at the top of your page or say it out loud before you start. And then find a natural way to use it during that session. One word, one session, every day. Over weeks and months, that practice compounds into a vocabulary range that actually shows up when you need it the most in speech. Let me give you a simple system you can start today. Step 1. Notice your comfort words. After your next conversation or writing session in English, spend 2 minutes identifying the words you used most, the ones that came out automatically. Those are your comfort words. Write them down. They're not bad words, they're just overused. Step 2. Find the upgrade. For each comfort word, find a more precise or sophisticated alternative. Good. Did you actually mean impressive? Effective? Compelling? Thorough? What about interesting? Did you actually mean thought-provoking, unexpected, nuanced? The upgrade doesn't have to be a rare word. It just has to be more accurate. Step 3. Use it before the day ends. Write 3 sentences using the new word, out loud, about something real in your life. Not a textbook example, your own experience. Commit it to your production pathway before the day is over. Step 4. Deploy it in your vehicle. The next time you journal, record, present, or practice, that new word is your target. You are looking for a natural moment to use it, not forcing it awkwardly, but finding the right moment for it to land. Do this consistently, and within months, your active vocabulary starts moving. Not dramatically, not overnight, but steadily. And steady, over time, is how fluency actually builds. So let me bring it together. You keep saying the same 50 words, not because you don't know more, but because your brain defaults to safe, automatic vocabulary under the pressure of real communication. And because the words you've been studying have been staying in passive recognition instead of crossing into your active production, the fix is not studying more vocabulary. It's actually producing more vocabulary through a vehicle, with frequency, with deliberate intention to reach past what's comfortable. I still do this. Every video I make, every script I write, every conversation I have, I am still actively pushing my own language range. Because the moment you stop pushing, the comfort vocabulary takes over again. That's just how the brain works. The difference between a learner who sounds rich and precise in English and one who sounds limited is almost never the size of their passive vocabulary. It's the size of their active one. An active vocabulary doesn't grow through study. It grows through use. Remember that. Now you have 2 options. Option 1, take the system I just gave you and build it into your practice. Find your vehicle for practicing. Notice your comfort words. Upgrade them. Deploy them. Do it every day. It works, and it costs nothing but consistency. Option 2, also open the B2 Edge app, because the AI speaking coach puts you in real conversational scenarios specifically designed to push you past your comfort vocabulary, with feedback on the language you produce, not just whether you communicate it. So, if you want to learn more about how the app can help you, link in the description. And here is your challenge for today. Write down your 5 most overused English words. You can even post them here under the video if you prefer. Find one upgrade for each. And before you go to sleep tonight, use at least one of those upgrades in a sentence about your own life. Out loud. That's how it starts. One word at a time. I'm Thiago. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And if you want to keep learning more, I highly recommend to check out this lesson next. I'll see you soon.